normally, journalists ask politicians about social justice issues and say, what are you going to do about it? But in 1968, my father continuously took journalists to Watts in the Mississippi Delta and to Bedford-Stuyvesant and to Indian reservations and to Cesar Chavez and the farm workers, and said to the journalists, why aren't you covering this? So when he died, the journalists came together and said, let's create an award for the journalists who do cover the issues that Robert Kennedy cared so much about. The book award was started by the great Arthur Schlesinger, and John Siegenthaler, of course, couldn't be with us tonight, but we are thinking of both of those extraordinary men. The Book and Journalism Awards reflect Robert Kennedy's love of literature and his admiration for courage.
More than 65 top journalists very willingly every year give their time to read, view, judge, and evaluate the more than 400 entries of exceptional journalism that come our way. After the winners in each category are selected, the Robert F. Kennedy Journalism Committee then has to choose the grand prize winner, and it is no easy task.
Well, thank you very much, and I do want to say it's an honor to be here today, and that the heart and soul of the reporting in this story was done by Jenny Nordberg, who we caught a glimpse of her in the clip. It was certainly a team effort with our executive producer, Wayne Nelson. But Jenny spent a long time in Afghanistan, and one of the biggest problems was getting the trust of the women. I think it's very important to understand that this is in microcosm is repeated so many times in Afghanistan, that as a country, as a society, we've embarked on something in Afghanistan that includes improving the status of women in the country. Because we've embarked on it, we need to understand that if Jenny were here, she would say so. She's not here, she's where she should be. She's back in Afghanistan working on another project. But it is that changing the status of women in Afghanistan is not a matter of a year or a decade. I'm an optimist by experience and by nature, but it's very difficult to be optimistic in the short or medium run about the fate of women in Afghanistan. Things sometimes improve quicker than we think, and we can hope that's the case in Afghanistan, but we should have no illusions. Afghanistan, you do find pockets in Kabul, Jalalabad, a few of the larger cities, where some enlightenment about the role of women is taking root. But keep in mind two things when you think about this documentary and we think about women in Afghanistan. Number one, the country is overwhelmingly rural, partly because of television, and I do not accept myself from this criticism, but partly because of television, we think of Afghanistan as Kabul or maybe Kandahar, maybe Jalalabad, maybe the mountains around Tora Bora. But this country is deeply and overwhelmingly rural, and rural in many ways talking about 18th century rural existence. And the second is that, and this is even more acutely true of women than it is of men, you're talking about a country, a whole country, where the literacy rate, not the illiteracy rate, the literacy rate is officially estimated at 10%, and it's probably below that. And among women, it's considerably below that. So something to think about when you contemplate what we're trying to accomplish in Afghanistan and the plight of women there. I do want to say I'm delighted to be here. I'm sorry that Jenny could not be here. A lot of people contributed to this effort, but Jenny was the heart and soul of it, and I regret that she's not here. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, we'd like to say thank you very much for this award. We respect this award, we respect the family. This was the idea of Jim Gandolfini and Sheila Nevins, who have been working to make documentaries that help us understand the cost of war. And it's not just life and limbs. There's a psychological cost that's documented here. we're talking about little contributions. I hope this is part of our continuing contributions to help people understand what war is about. When we showed this at the Pentagon, there was a debate over how many people get affected psychologically when they go to war. And a Medal of Honor winner got up and said, "You know what it is. It's every single person who goes to war. We never come back the same." And then they went on to say, "It's really good that people are talking about what happens to us when we come back, that they're honoring our service and our sacrifice, but maybe they should start thinking about this before they send us over there in the first place." So thank you very much.
It was really a tough night deciding on a single winner from the dozen or so finalists, and to tell the truth, we spent a considerable part of the evening at loggerheads. I'll say loggerheads. I don't actually know what that means. Do any of you know what loggerheads mean? So much so that at one point I suggested that we give serious consideration to one of my books. At any rate, at last we settled on a very, very good book called The Big Short by Michael Lewis. Because more than any of the others, and in a surprisingly riveting style for a book that's mainly about banks and hedge funds and the markets and mortgages and money, more than the others, it clearly addressed and reflected Robert Kennedy's passionate commitment to those who so often get the short end of the stick in our society, the poor and the powerless who, without benefit of billion-dollar bailouts, endured so much of the pain of an economy gone sour and bore much more than their share of the harsh and heavy burdens of such voracious greed. That is The Big Short, a cogent examination of the factors that produced the economic disaster of 2008.
The Pulitzers and the National Book Award are awarded on the basis of literary excellence, whatever that might be, and it depends on the eye of the beholder. The criteria used here seem to be books that matter, and I'm embarrassed to say that that consideration doesn't come up often enough in literary conversations or publishing conversations at all, and so this is really, to me and to Michael, really made us think about what we do. And now I'm going to read you what Michael has to say. I have digitally saved Ethel Kennedy's voicemail message so that my children may one day believe that she phoned me. This award is a great honor, and not just because it is given by a great woman in the name of an American hero. I'm moved by the spirit in which it is given. I wrote The Big Short in part because I felt that if ordinary people understood what had happened at the heart of our money culture, they would instantly seek to change that culture. It's the only book I've written where, before I wrote it, the thought crossed my mind, I might actually be doing something useful here. I was wrong about that, as it turned out. But I can't tell you how grateful I am that my rare moment of public idealism was spotted by the Robert F. Kennedy Center and rewarded. It makes me want to do it all over again. Thank you.